today we have the first interviews with one of the core contributors to LIonWeb. You may wonder what LIonWeb is. So LIonWeb is an initiative for facilitating interoperability between language engineering components. Is built by, the idea is that you can use components built by different parties, built with different languages, and possibly distributed on the web. That means that, for example, you could combine things like editors, model repositories, code generators, and other things to build a complex solution. And today we are lucky enough to have Jos Farmer with us. And of course, if you have been involved with language engineering, you already know about him. But in case you're new to the field, there are a couple of things that you may want to know about Jos. First of all, he has been the main contributor to the object constraint language standard and a contributor to the UML standard. And another important contribution that he made in the field was working on the Mendix web modeler. And Mendix is a relevant success story for the modeling field, as it having been sold for $600 million, so quite a success story. For the last few years, Jos Farmer has been working on Fern, which is an evolution of Projected. This is a project that he has been working on with Anneke Kleppe. And Fern is a toolkit to build languages running in the browser. And I'm sure we will have a chance to discuss it more. So thank you so much, Jos, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And okay, so first of all, I will start with the first question. Well, I guess this is the right order. And so why did you decide to join the LIonWeb initiative?
Well, the reason actually came from a customer project where we built a language using MPS, but the customer wants to widen it up, make it more accessible, make it more connectable, etc. So that was a point where LIonWeb seemed to fit in pretty well. And at that point, I knew about LIonWeb. I was not really involved, but I started to see all the benefits of it, and I got involved. Because we have a lot of tools in the language engineering community, but they're all basic standalone islands. And being able to connect them through some common interface would make us in doing things for customers much more powerful.
Good. So it's good that your interest started from a real case. So this is not just something abstract and academical. And I was wondering, how do you think that language engineering in general could benefit from LIonWeb?
I think language engineering is a very small community, if you look at the IT world. And apart from being very small, we are also divided in very little subgroups, each with their own tooling, their own things, their own way of doing things. And it's very hard to connect all of that. And I think a huge benefit is to be able to connect the community, so we will have a larger group which can work together in a sensible way. And that way, I think, or maybe I'm just hoping, I don't know, we'll see in the future, that we might get enough critical mass actually to make it a more feasible solution to other people.
Good. And can you also tell me about how do you think that you specifically could benefit from LIonWeb? And you have already made an example about a concrete project, but maybe you can also tell us a bit more about maybe how Fern can benefit from LIonWeb.
Yes, I can. There's a lot to say about it. Fern, our goal with Freud is not to provide one toolkit that does everything for everyone. My experience is that such a thing doesn't exist. A lot of tools are built in a way that they assume that they're the center of the world and the rest will revolve a bit around it, which is not true for any tool. So what we did, we tried to create a very open environment where the idea was we won't even do everything ourselves. We expect that we can connect with other tools or that people can replace part of what we deliver with other things through well-defined interfaces. So it can connect with other tools in an open way to leverage all the knowledge and all the work that other people are doing. And basically, Freud is currently done by 2 people with a little bit of help from some others. It's very clear we can't do everything ourselves. So being open means we need to connect to other tools. And having LIonWeb, which defines a protocol on how different tools connect with each other, actually fits perfect with the vision we have for Freud. We need something like that, and we were already in the process of defining our own protocols to which people can connect, which is nice, but still very specific to Freud. And LIonWeb will just open that much more. And the other way around, through LIonWeb, we hope we can use other tools to complement the functionality that Freud brings. In Freud, we don't really put effort in repositories or model storage or whatever. We have a very, 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 very simple model storage, which just stores them as a JSON file, and that's it. So being able through LIonWeb to connect to repositories who bring much more powerful functionality is a huge benefit. Something that we hoped would arrive at some point. So we're very happy that it's actually getting there.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, an advantage for you and other that are building tools in this field is that you don't need to necessarily build yourself every different aspects of the entire solution. You can reuse components and focus on the things where you are great at instead of maybe build a model repository with the limited time available for this.
Yes, quite so. Another area where we basically done nothing yet, and we don't plan to, is code generation. There's lots of quite mature tools which you can use for code generation. So we don't think building another one makes sense, but we do like to have a way to easily connect with them so people can just use them. And we already see in customer projects that projects are using, for example, with MPS code generation using Extend. And then they have to build their own interface to make sure that you can actually read your MPS models and then use them in Extend. It would have helped in such a project to have LIonWeb.
Yeah, also because building these interfaces is typically not the most fascinating part.
It's boring boilerplate code, but it's a lot of work. And I personally prefer to do some more interesting work.
Okay, so we have seen how LIonWeb allows you to focus on certain components and reuse potentially other components. But maybe we can now discuss about what you are working on at the moment.
In the beginning of the years, I've been working with other members of the LIonWeb group on several proof of concepts of connecting Freud with other tools. And other tools, in this case, we had a proof of concept with ModelX, one with Starlaza, one with MPS. So we all connected them through Freud, all in a rather ad hoc way. So what I'm currently working on is getting all the code we wrote for those proof of concepts and moving that into the core Throne. So we basically want to support Throne as the native interface format and interface protocol for, we want to use LIonWeb as the native interface protocol for Throne. So that's where the focus is right now.
Good. So it's nice to hear that there are already some POC for that. And what do you think we need to make LIonWeb successful? Because the initiative is ambitious. And
one thing we need, which is obvious, we need more than one tool to implement LIonWeb. In the UML world, that said a long time ago, we had a diagram interchange format standard, and there was one company who implemented it ever. That's not successful. So in LIonWeb, we need a number of tools that will implement it, so people can actually use the different tools with each other, and the more the better. And the other thing we need, and that's probably a direct coming from having multiple tools, we need enough critical mass. I mean, we need enough people actually start using it, so it will gain speed. The other thing we didn't talk about yet is it needs to be simple. It needs to follow the KISS principle. If we create LIonWeb and create a protocol that is very much defined in terms of meta stuff, then yes, you can understand it, I can, and probably a few dozen people in the world, but it won't make any impact because most people won't understand it. So we need to create protocols and interfaces that are understandable and usable by, by just developers who are not into meta stuff or language engineering. And that's pretty hard because in LIonWeb, we are all meta people. And we have to make sure that it is usable, because one of the things I see is not just connecting the different language engineering tools, but also if a company builds a language for part of its business, the tools, the language need to interrupt with all the other systems that the customer has. So it must be easy enough for all the developers in the company to just get access to the models and connect them with the other systems so they can integrate it in their environment. And that's something which I think is crucial, because otherwise companies might have solutions with languages, but if they keep being an island inside the company, then on the longer term, it's doubtful whether that's going to be successful.
Good. So we have some work to do.
We have a lot of work to do, but well, it's interesting work.
Yeah, definitely. And who else do you think should look into LIonWeb?
I think that basically everyone in the language engineering area should take a look, should see how they can connect their tools. Both people are building their own tools, connect with LIonWeb and try to find how they can benefit from it. I mean, it's work to connect a tool to LIonWeb, but you should really look at how can it help me, because you might be able to leverage work from others, which you can focus on your piece. In that respect, I also think that the research communities should take a look, because a lot of the research I see, people are building their own environment from scratch, and they do a lot of very hard and very boring grind work to build up a base on which the real research takes place. If you use LIonWeb, you might be able to leverage all the infrastructure that other people build and actually spend all your time on the interesting research, which is good for researchers because that's what they like to do. It also means that the research that you can connect more easily to the business worlds. So that could be a very big win-win situation.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I often think that people working on their master thesis, they spend like maybe 2 months and a half doing the boring bits, and then they have 15 days left to do the interesting part. But maybe with LIonWeb, they can change the proportion.
It would be nice to turn it around and actually focus everything on the interesting stuff.
Good. So thank you very much, Jos. I think we gave an initial introduction to LIonWeb, and we start, sharing this vision with others and hopefully creating this critical mass that you were talking about. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.